All right, so we covered word roots in chapter 3, prefixes, now chapter 4 in your book, suffixes. All med terms must have a suffix, but there's some easy ones that you guys are familiar with. Like that one, ick, ar, all, right? Like heart. If it pertains to the heart, then it's cardiac, right? If it pertains to the heart, then it's cardial, right? So those are simple suffixes, and sometimes all you do is slap on one of these easy, simple ones just to make the term. So beginning suffixes at the end, and they're going to give you similar information as prefixes. So just like the prefixes, they're going to describe the word root. So here is the example. Is, so that's one who studies. So here we have the specialist in the study of the heart and a specialist in the study of nerves. Itis. Itis is inflammation. So dermatitis is inflammation of the skin. Here's one of the, so here they just slapped on an A. So the word root is actually algia, which is pain. The suffix is, they just put an A at the end. So this is pain in the stomach, or a condition of stomach pain. So mega is the word root. So they just added the ly to make it a suffix. So here we have enlargement of the liver. So just remember the simple rules in hybrid 1B, because we'll start to put these words together, these parts together. So we have a big old long list of suffixes coming up. So I'll just go over the most common ones, but make sure you make flashcards for the other ones as well. All right, algia we had. Anesthesia. Sorry, yeah. Anesthesia, weakness. Desis is like a joint. Sometimes you have to bind a joint together. That's called arthrodesis. Arthro is joint. Dynia is another one for pain. And then sensation, similar. Anesthesia, you guys are probably used to anesthesia, right? An is without. Sensation. We have movement yesterday. Remember, kinetic energy is energy of movement. So kinesis is movement. Here they just added in the simple suffixes to make it a complete word. Phobia is fear. Phone. Remember, we had phono. We're just adding that simple suffix ending on there. What's dysphoria? Think of? Yeah, bad, abnormal, painful feeling. What is euphoria? Good, normal feeling. Hernia is a celi. So you can have different types of hernia. Men get inguinal hernia. You can also get your stomach popping up into your intestines. Right? It's called a hiatus. Condition of the cell. So osis is any condition, right? Any abnormal condition. So here they just added cyto, the word root for cell. So now it's a cell condition. Expansion, ecstasis. So this is like your pupil when it opens and closes. Ema, that's any condition. But emia becomes a blood condition. So one little tiny letter makes it now not any condition. Now it's a blood condition. So you have leukemia. Emesis, that little tray next to every hospital bed, is the emesis basin, emesis tray. Presence of, iasis. Ism, we already know that, right? You suffer from gigantism. You suffer from dwarfism. You suffer from whatever condition. Itis, we already have. Epi. Epi is above. You're probably used to epilepsy. That's when the top portion of your brain kind of fires crazy. Lith is stone. Iasis is presence of. So this is presence of stone. You guys know what bipolar is? What's bipolar? When somebody's bipolar, they get really, 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 really happy, and then they get really, really, really sad, right? So the sad part is depression. The happy part is called mania. So when they switch from depression to happy, the happiness is called madness. Right. Oma. If you watch that old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Kindergarten Cop, he had a headache. The kid said it might be a tumor, and he kept on saying with his accent, "It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor." So kindergarten kid. When I was in kindergarten, it was no. I was in 4th grade, so I was right out of kindergarten when that movie came out. Opsia. So we already had it. They just add in the simple suffix. Any disease is pathy. Any repair is plasty. Right? So when you have plastic surgery, it's not using plastic, right? That's what I thought it was when I was a kid. She had plastic surgery. Where did they put the plastic? No, plasty just means surgical repair. Pathy, disease. Apnea is low. Think of like low blood cells. You have like aplastic anemia or leukopenia. If you're a pedophile, what happens to you? You are attracted. So what's the word root for kids? Ped, like pediatrics, right? It's also foot, ped, like pedestrian. So depending on the context. Schizophrenia. So schism is a splitting, and schizophrenia is literally splitting of the mind. Phrenia. Pelagic. Oh, it's easy. That's the paralysis. Rhea. We have a bunch of RRH. We have rhea, ragia. You ever heard of ragia? So we have diarrhea. That's just a flow. We have a hemorrhage, right? Well, that's when blood is bursting and rushing forth. And then we have an explosion, which is rhexis. So rhea, ragia, rhexis. And one more for stitches, raphy. So just be careful. It's just like ectomy, ostomy, tome. So bursting forth is ragia. It doesn't have to be blood. Rhexis is rupture. You guys are probably more familiar with the term atrophy. When something doesn't get nutrition, doesn't grow. So trophy is nutrition. A is without. So atrophy is without nutrition. Blast we already had. What did I have you remember? What does it build? Bone. So osteoblasts are immature cells. They build bone. The opposite is class. Osteoclasts crush bones, so they break down bone. Suicidal homicide, you're familiar with that term. Secreting, so your hormones go inside your blood, so they're endocrine, they secrete inside. Your sweat secrete to the outside, so they're exocrine. Malacia, softening. So you can have softening of the bones, osteomalacia. Let's see. What's Pepsi for? So Pepsi Cola and all the sodas are actually medication. You ever heard of tonic water? Right, that's a soda, that's medication. You ever heard of ginger ale? Right, Dr. Pepper. So all sodas were actually medical concoctions at one time. So what do you think Pepsi helped treat? Indigestion. So Dr. Pepper or Coke, sometimes when you have an upset stomach, sip a little Coke, it'll help relieve it. Phagia is eating. Drinking is Pinot. That's because I love vino. Phagia. Sometimes when you have a stroke, you lose your ability to speak. So now you are without speech. So you have aphasia. Plastic, that's forming. Like aplastic anemia, that's without the formation of blood. What happens when you don't breathe? So apnea is without breathing. What if you have dysapnea? What's going on there? Difficult, abnormal, painful. Right? What we want is good breathing, I guess. Eupnea? Weird word. Production of poiesis, poetic, potent. So anything that stimulates the formation of. Regia, right? Discharge. So rhea is just flowing. Diarrhea flows out. When you have explosive diarrhea, we should call it diarrhea, right? Because that's heavy discharge. Splitting, we already had. Schizo, soma, asleep. A lot of us suffer from lack of sleep or inability to sleep, insomnia. And when your muscles contract involuntarily, that is a spasm, right? Involuntary contraction is a spasm. Stultus, contraction. If I have peristalsis, what type of contraction? Around, right? So in your GI tract, we have peristalsis. Stasis, it means stop. So homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homo is same. So we want your body to be just like that. Stay the same. Be in balance. Stay like that. Don't get out of balance. So that's homeostasis. What's the opposite of homo? Hetero, right? Same is homo, different is hetero. Cytocell, derm is skin, and then remember, ema is any condition. Emia refers to a blood condition, right? Anything with that I. What does protein end in? So this is a glob-shaped protein. So they just name proteins by their shape or their function. So this is a protein. It's a globulin. So it's a globular shape. So globulins are usually your antibodies. They're proteins. Oxygen plaque. All right, the E's. E is for removal. So that's going to be excision. We're going to cut it out of your body, remove it. Whereas an ostomy is just an opening. So a colonostomy is a hole in your colon, a hole in your large intestine. So you no longer poop. You just poop in a bag, right? Creating an opening. plexus fixation, surgical fixation. So what happened to the uterus and bladder sometimes after childbirth? What happened, ladies? You got to make room first, right? So the uterus gets bigger, the bladder gets pushed down, and then when the baby pops up, sometimes those parts don't go back in place. So we got to go in and tie the bladder back in place or tie the uterus back where it needs to be. Plasty, surgical repair. Not plastic like I thought when I was a kid. And then the other RRH is stitches. Sutures or stitches. Homeostasis. Ostomy. Tome. So anything that ends in an E is the instrument. Anything that ends in the Y is the action of. Right? So let's see. Scope. What is a scope? Instrument. Scopy is the action of looking. Right? So follow that convention. It'll help you. Let's do Gen. Just think of the book of Genesis in the Bible. That's the origin story. Gram is the record. So they used to send messages with beeps and dots. What was that called? No, telegram is the message, but the machine is the telegraph, and the process of sending the message is, what does it end in? Telegraphy, right? So this is the action of sending the message. This is the machine you use to send the message. And the thing that records at the end is the telegram, the actual record, the recording of it. So the endings do make a difference. So graph is the instrument. Graphy ends in Y is the process of, the action. Anything that measures is meter. So when you're doing the perimeter, you're measuring around the outside. When you're taking a thermometer, what are you measuring? What's therm? Heat, right? So therm is just the device for measuring. Y is the process of measuring. Right? Opsy, process of looking, the action of doing it. Phil, just think of that pedophile again, right? They're drawn towards. E is the instrument, Y is the action of looking. Add we already have. Now they're just moving it. So we had this as a prefix. So some of these, they serve multiple functions. Class. What's the opposite of class? Blast, right? Remember? Osteoblast build cells, so they're immature. So class, they break down. Osteoclast breaks bone down, crushes it. Where you got those? Oid. Look alike. So if a being came down from space and it was a humanoid, what did it look like? It looked like a man, right? So humanoid. If you made an opioid, you guys ever heard of opioids? So naturally occurring opiates, that's morphine. But anything synthetic resembles the natural stuff. So we call them opioids. We usually use a prophylaxis. Pro meaning before, right? So an example, something to prevent pregnancy, right? You do a lot of things before the actual action to prevent pregnancy, whether it is the pill, barrier device, etc. That we already had trophic, we already had version. That's turning. A lot of times it refers to the ankle, turning it in, turning it out. Eversion and inversion. Not too bad of a list. You guys have some word roots, some prefixes, and suffixes. We're going to start putting it all together soon.